as far as our approach for this offseason, we want to tackle the free agent market as well as the trade market. We want to look for opportunities. In my dialogue with Steve and Sandy, it's evident that we're going to have some resources behind us. So I don't think anything eliminates itself at the outset here. And I look at the roster and definitely want to address the pitching. We've had player recently signed somewhere else in Noah, and just really want to reinforce the overall depth. We also are going to entertain things in the outfield and entertain things in the infield. But after this call, or shortly after this call, and some of the other obligations I have today, with respect to the media, I'm going to connect with the senior baseball operations group, and I want to hear from them, like what they think, and what ideas they have, and hit the ground running this afternoon and start. I'm still on West Coast time, so I've got a little bit longer day, and just start connecting with agents and teams. And I haven't, even over this last year, I haven't really unplugged from from a lot of my GM colleagues. I still have talked to them, throughout the last calendar year. So I'm just looking forward to plugging in and addressing this roster. But I think you can walk away from this knowing that we're going to be aggressive, and we're going to attack the pitching, infield, and outfield. So kind of all of the above.
What kind of manager are you looking for? Are you looking for a guy who has analytic, thinking, or is it old school, or both?
Thanks for the question, Bill, and I'm glad you asked it. Actually, I'd love to find somebody that checks every single box and is great in all areas. But it's interesting that you bring it up, because over this past year, just learning and reading and kind of like rethinking some of the ways that you approach things. I wanted to be able to sit down with the senior baseball ops group, and then sit down with Steve and Sandy, and kind of all collectively talk about what kind of criteria we think might be important for the next manager of the Mets. And so that's a process that I'm going to start this afternoon. I have a little bit of my own feeling on that, but I'd rather hold back on giving exactly what that criteria is at this moment in time, because I want to have the group engage and get a sense for do you value, for example, tactical in-game management as your primary your primary criteria, your primary element? Do you value analytic in-game probabilistic thinking as your number one criteria, or do you manage ability to connect with the media and the fan base? Obviously, that's critical, and clubhouse culture. So all of these things, do you want somebody that coached in the minor league, for example? So I want to make sure I collect all of the thoughts from everybody, set forth what that criteria looks like, and then at that point, start to develop a candidate list.
How do you change the culture in the clubhouse and on the field? The reason why I'm asking, because the last 2 years, the Mets were supposed to win and they finished under 500. How do you change that culture?
I think a lot of that comes from the coaching staff and from the players themselves. When you have an environment where people feel that they can be vulnerable with each other, where they feel that they can trust one another, that there's almost like this element of psychological safety where you're not afraid to speak your mind, and that if you do speak your mind, that there's not going to be any repercussions behind that. So I think as you just kind of create that culture, that people start to feel more comfortable as they move forward.
The offense featured a lot of underperforming players this past season, and just in general, it's a roster that hasn't played to its talent level. So how do you balance trusting them all to bounce back versus getting value if you traded some of them?
Thanks, Tisha. So the process that we'll look at when evaluating our offense is, what are the underlying process metrics that are kind of driving their performance, and was there an element of unluckiness? Do we expect that that the numbers on the back of the baseball card are maybe not in fact the real numbers that we would expect from that player to contribute? There's an element of or I guess a framework for players that I tend to gravitate to, and I don't think this is really that unique or proprietary, because it's become kind of mainstay in baseball. But just to kind of get a little bit more granular on that, looking for players that are really good decision makers in the batter's box. They understand their swing decisions, and if a ball's over the white, that they're ready to attack it. And so a little bit more of a patiently but aggressive approach at the same time. And obviously, as far as team building is concerned in general, we're just going to try to really, really grow the run differential of the club as much as we can.
With the lockout looming, we've seen some push in the industry already to get some players signed, and I think there could be some more. Do you feel that you have to kind of get moving on some player acquisition? And that said, can the manager hire wait? Because you are looking at a situation where there could be a transaction freeze. And do you feel an urgency to do the player side first and maybe worry about the manager side later on?
Great question, Dave. And again, good to see you, man. So last night I was starting to get a lot of texts from agents, and I responded to a lot of them saying you'll hear from me today. So yeah, I'm going to plug right into that. Absolutely. And look forward to engaging with those guys again on their players. And as far as the manager process, I don't expect it to be done overnight or even be done in the next week. And I know we're about to embark on a holiday week, but starting to have those conversations and carve out time, each day to meeting a candidate, I think can be done simultaneously. Just as you manage your time, connecting with these agents, though, will be going on this afternoon. The resources that I talked to Steve about being able to have here give me a really good feeling that we'll be able to shore up some of those depth issues and really build a comprehensive best in class scouting operation, player development operation, performance and performance science and analytics operation. So those departments will ultimately drive the long-term success of the organization.